Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastep Jr.
Hello and welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. I'm glad you've joined us today. If this is your first time joining us, I want to welcome you to the show. My name is Ralph Eastep. I'm an accountant in Middletown, Delaware. The name of our firm is Saggio Management Group. And we do the show every week, and I encourage you to listen to our show. I encourage you to go to our website at AskRalph.com, and you can find our previous shows. You can download our podcasts and that sort of thing. But today I want to talk about something that one of my frequent listeners mentioned to me when I put out a question the other day about, what would be a good thing to talk about on the show? And one of the things that this person brought up, and I want to thank them personally, is how do you establish credit for a new person, somebody who's younger or something like that. So I found an article written by John Kiernan. He's a senior writer and editor, and it was posted on June 11, 2018. And it was how to establish credit in 5 easy steps. And I really think that this article really lays out a very clear way to accomplish just that. So, in order to build credit, you need to establish credit. That's sort of an obvious thing, isn't it? So number one thing that this person recommends, and I agree with this 100%, is see if you have a credit report. If you have a credit report in your name, that means you've already established credit. Now, that could be something as simple as perhaps you were an authorized user on someone's account. It could also mean that you've been a victim of identity theft. So it's real important to take a look and make sure that you take a look at your credit report. So that's the first place to start. You should be able to find anything that's tied to your Social Security number. You can go to freecreditreport.com, I believe, is one of the places you can go. I know there's another one called Wallet Hub. I'm not endorsing any in particular. You can contact each of the credit bureaus yourself and ask them for a copy of your credit report. Or, one of the other ways you can do it is you can go apply for credit somewhere. And if they turn you down, then you'll be entitled to a free copy of your credit report. But it really is the starting point. Go and get your credit report and take a look at it. And if you want to understand how to understand your credit report, I did a whole series on credit this past summer. You go back into our archives and look for that credit series. And I talk about, what is a credit report? What is a credit score? What makes up a credit report? So once you've got your credit report, maybe the next step is to start off building some credit. And one of the best ways to do that is open a starter credit card. They really are the best credit building tools at our disposal. And that's because you can use them, and if you pay them off every month, they won't cost you a dime. If you go get a traditional loan, you're going to pay interest on that loan in order to get a credit history. Whereas with a credit card, you don't necessarily have to make any payments at all, especially if you get a credit card with no annual fee. So that's your top priority when you look at a credit card. Find one that doesn't charge an annual fee. It's going to allow you to establish your credit faster. And the other thing, be cautious about what kind of credit card you get, because there are really 3 options here. We talk about starter credit cards. There's a secured credit card, a student credit card, and a credit cards for people with limited credit. Of course, secured credit cards is basically you put money into an account and they allow you to spend a certain amount. I talk about that in my credit series. That's really not a bad way to go, especially if you're trying to reestablish credit. Student credit cards, this may be offered through your university or somewhere where you go to school or college. And those are generally, they're for people who are just starting out, and you may start with a small credit line. But just remember, you don't want to pay annual fees, and you want to make sure, once you get this credit card that you're paying it off every month. Then the other options, like I said here, is credit cards for people with limited credit. There are some credit cards that focus directly on, finding out what kind of person you are. And the reason I say credit cards, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, is any loan will require you to go into debt and lose money on interest charges. Whereas the credit cards, on the other hand, can be locked away in a drawer unused while still helping you to build your credit. Now, the third step to this, though, is use your card responsibly for 6 months. You can create a credit score, you can do all those things, but you can wreck your credit very quickly as well. So it's very important that you make on-time payments and maintain reasonable credit utilization for the first 6 months or so. All right, Ralph, so what does reasonable credit utilization mean? Real simple. Let's say that you get a credit card and they tell you that you've got a credit limit of $1,000. Well, most experts would say you never want to charge more than 30% of your credit limit. So in our example, you don't want to put more than $300 on that credit card. Now, if you want to be ultra conservative, don't put more than 10% or $100. I don't know that would really be that beneficial, but it will help build your credit. So it's important that you look at that utilization. A lot of people make the mistake. They go get that $1,000 credit card and then they max it out and then they don't pay it off at the end of the month. That will actually impact your credit score negatively because what's going on is the lenders are worried that you're going to get yourself in financial trouble. So once you've done that, the next step is to check your credit report and score often. Once you've given a couple months, get the copy of your credit report again and make sure that the performance that you've been working towards is being reflected on your credit. And just remember, a credit score is not as simple as, well, it's just if you made your payments. It's just if you made your payments on time. And I talk about that in my credit series. Credit scores are made up of several components. And then once you've established your credit, then it's time to build and improve your credit. And that's when you really start taking a look at, what can you do to take it to the next level? If you're planning to apply for a new loan, line of credit, apartment, or job that requires a credit check in the near future, you may also want to explore various ways that you can to improve your credit in the short term. So let's say you're just getting started. Maybe your credit score is not exactly what you want it to be. Well, there's a lot of things you can do to improve that. Like we talked about, credit utilization, pay down on those credit cards. You can also call the credit card company, and maybe if you've been a good person with them or a good borrower, they'll be willing to increase your credit limit. See, if they do that, then your utilization grows. If you've got that $1,000 credit limit and we're saying don't go more than 30%, that only gives you $300 worth of spending money. But if you call them and say, look, I don't want to utilize, a high percentage of my credit and say, can you double my credit line to $2,000? And based upon what I've experienced, that really shouldn't be a big problem. So now all of a sudden, instead of being forced to only spend $300 or less, now you've doubled that to $600. And just make sure that you're paying that off at the end of the month and that you're paying it on time. One of the things that I recommend for credit cards is set up automatic payments for your credit cards to automatically pay the full balance several days before it's due. And do that electronically. That way you can go back and make sure it gets done. These are all simple ways to get started with your credit. And like I said, I would definitely recommend you take the time to go back and re-listen to my credit series. You will find that there was a great deal of information in that series that I did. I don't remember exactly how many episodes we did, but it really was useful. And of course, I did it, so I'm pretty biased about that. But I'm just kidding, no, actually. Establishing credit is important. You're going to need it. You're going to look at a job. It's going to impact your rates you pay for insurance. Eventually, you're going to need to buy a car perhaps, or you're going to need to do some sort of loan. Maybe you're going to get a mortgage. All those things are going to be dependent on your credit. So why not start off with a strong foundation and build your credit the right way? And I hope these steps will help you. And, always go to our website, askralph.com, if you're interested in being on the show or talking about a topic. Let us know those things. I hope to hear from you soon.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware, and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.